Hey guys, so I wanted to make a video to kind of talk about some of my feelings regarding my adoptive dad. You guys know that I refer to my stepdad as my dad, although my biological dad passed away a few years ago from cancer, esophageal and stomach cancer, and um, I was adopted by my younger brother's dad when he got married to my mom. So, for the longest time, I referred to my adoptive dad as my dad. I no longer do that because he told me that he was not my father anymore. Because when I was up visiting my mom a couple years ago for my cousin Kelly's funeral, um, I really I was time limited because I had to come back to Indiana. My mom lives in Michigan, for those of you that don't know. Um, I was time limited because I had to come back for work. And, um, the funeral was in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, so it was a good distance from where I live. Um, and during that time, my adoptive dad's mother was very sick. She was in the hospital and dying. And he told me about it, and I didn't have the gas to go to the hospital to see her when we were up there. I also didn't have the time to go to the hospital to see her, which I know that sounds really, really harsh, but, you know, I don't really want to go into my personal feelings about that side of the family because when I was growing up, I just kind of feel like they didn't really treat me like I was part of the family, necessarily because I was adopted. So I'm not going to go any further into it than that. But I just lately I've been thinking about why I'm holding a grudge so much against him and considering wanting to try to reconnect and repair the relationship that we have. Um, but then at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to try to reach out and repair things with him only to have it blow up in my face and end up with some sort of emotional battle because I really don't want to have to deal with any of that. And you guys might say that I'm being insensitive or being harsh on him, but I just feel like when you adopt someone, and my entire life he said that I was special because he got to choose me as his daughter, and you know he just kind of made me feel good. He didn't make me feel any different. He treated me the same as he treated my brother Pierce, and it was nice being able to grow up in that type of a situation where you felt like, okay, this man really cares about me like I am his real daughter. But then, obviously I was an adult when this happened, but he just got so mad because I wasn't able to come to the hospital. But I told him, when I was in the Upper Peninsula, I rode there in my mom and stepdad's car. So they were driving. I had no control over that. We left, my former roommate, Paul, and I left the car at my parents' house and we rode in the car with them. So then we didn't have to use up the gas that we had left. And I explained that to him and he didn't understand it, or he didn't want to hear what I was trying to explain to him. And so he just took his anger out on me. And I get that when you are in the middle of losing your parent, that, or losing anyone for that matter, that things are rough. You might say things that you don't mean. But even now, I've talked to him a few times since then, and he's still holding that grudge with me because I wasn't able to go to the hospital that day because after the funeral I went back to my parents' house, um and it was like a 3-4 hour drive from where my parents live to the hospital that my adoptive dad's mom was at. And like I wish I could have gone to say goodbye, but at the same time, I had no control over the situation and I had no control over the fact that I needed to come back to go to work. Like, I had already taken time off to go to my cousin's funeral, and there was no possibility of me getting additional time off to continue to stay there because they only give you so much time for a bereavement leave um, at the facility that I was working at that time. So, like I said, I've been thinking about like reaching out to him and trying to reconnect with him, but at the same time, I'm hesitant just because of how like past conversations have gone with him. And I don't want to, like, I've forgiven him. I've messaged him and told him, like, I forgive you for the things that you've said. But, you know, during the conversation when he was mad at me and he told me that I was no longer his daughter, he also made it a point to insult my biological father, who was already dead at that point. And even though my biological father was not like a major player in my life, so to speak, like he lived in Wisconsin, I lived in Michigan. I saw him like every once in a while. I would talk to him every once in a while, but he was still my dad. He was still the person who gave me life other than my mother. And I don't think it's right for my adoptive dad to be insulting a man who cannot defend himself. And that's what I told him. I said, my biological dad is passed away. He's no longer here. He cannot defend himself. And I don't think it's fair for you to insult a man that cannot defend himself. And I told him, when my biological father was getting like sicker and sicker, my sister facilitated communication between my biological father and my biological father did make a strong effort to make things right between he and I before he died. So I hold no grudges against my biological father. I hold no ill will toward him whatsoever. I absolutely love him, and I'm just glad that he, at the end, tried to reach out and make sure that, things were good between us. And so it just makes it hard that my adoptive dad was insulting this man that I have respect for because he's my biological father. And, he did try to make things right, but it just like it made me upset. And like I get it. I wasn't at the hospital when she died, but I also wasn't at the hospital when my grandfather died. I also not my adoptive dad's father, he's still alive, but my maternal grandfather, I was not at the hospital when he died, you know. And there's some people that I don't think would even be comfortable going to the hospital to see someone in that state. Like me personally, I would rather remember somebody as they were in a healthy state, not as they are in a dying state. But that's no excuse. It is what it is. If he wants to hold a grudge against me for that, then I guess I understand, sorta. But at the same time, I feel like, if anything, it should be me who's upset because I didn't get to go. Like if I want to remember the good times with her, I feel like I should be able to do that without being disowned, basically, because that's what he's done. Like, even the couple of times when he's messaged me on Facebook Messenger, I've messaged him back and he's still like really pissed off at me and talking about how, like he didn't raise me that way and all this other stuff. I want to forgive him, and I have forgiven him for the things that he said to me, for the things that he said about me, for the things that he has said about my biological father, who is no longer on this earth. And I have forgiven him because I feel like it does nothing for me to hold on to that grudge, to hold on to the anger, to hold on to the hurt, and I get nothing out of holding on to that. So it's really pointless for me to do so. And, it's frustrating that I'm trying to, make things right as much as I can. But sometimes, even when you do try to make things right, people just don't, they either can't process it or they just don't want to be a part of it. So I don't know. I guess I just wanted to kind of get that off my chest and let you guys know that I'm kind of struggling with that. If any of you guys have been in a similar situation, please let me know how you handled it, or did you handle it, because I really don't know what to do next, because it's just a hard situation to try to deal with. But anyways, I'm going to make that the end of this video because this video is long enough as it is, almost 10 minutes now. And anyways, thank you for listening if you've watched this far, and I will talk to you guys again in my next video.